Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to November, the second last meetup for the year. We are doing December still, hey? Yes, 12th of December. Okay, yeah. So remember, our December meetups are usually a lot more fun. We've got a lot of games, a lot of giveaways, so definitely look at joining that. Okay. Yeah, we don't have much swag to give away now, though. Just for those online, welcome as well. Just know that we are recording the session. Please try and keep yourself on mute just to try and minimize the amount of background noise. But if you have any questions, please shout. I'm sure there are people in the room that are monitoring the chat at least. Okay. I don't remember if I added you to the meeting. Okay. I'll do that now quickly, but I'll keep an eye on it. Yeah. Okay. So tonight, we're going to go through in the news. We've got 5 news items, and we are going to be presented the news by Adriana. Okay, so she's going to take us through some of the news items that we've got on for tonight. We're then going to go into, I'm going to take you through integrating Azure OpenAI with Power Apps and Power Automate. There's a great GitHub sample available. Download it, check it out. The instructions aren't that detailed, so I'll take you through some of the things that I picked up and some of the ways I got around it, so you can see how to go through that. We're then going to be covering implementing flow timers, and then we're going to finish off with open floor. The discussion tonight, so start thinking about your contributions, is around when is AI going to take my job? Okay, so a little bit different, a little bit interesting. See what everyone's points of view are on that. Okay. Before we get going, anyone want to add anything? Okay. Now, for those online, unfortunately, you won't be able to see Adriana. Come down. I want to refresh. Come on. On. There we go. Hopefully, the microphone is able to pick up Adriana when she speaks.
Exciting new updates in Power Apps and Power Automate. Together with John, we will explore the latest features and enhancements that are set to revolutionize the way you work with these powerful tools. Let's embark on this journey of discovery and innovation.
Okay. Firstly, before we move on to those, there's just one thing I want to mention. Ignite kicks off tomorrow night. Okay. Keynote start at 7 o'clock. If you haven't registered, definitely go and register. There are some really exciting things coming out. A lot around Fabric, a lot around Power Platform. So definitely have a look. Okay, it's going to be really exciting stuff. We've been under embargo for a couple of items, so I'm really looking forward to that being lifted and we could go through some of the things. Adriana, can you tell us about the simplified license assignment update for Power Apps that has come through?
This update aims to make life easier for administrators by streamlining license management. With the introduction of license autoclaim for Power Apps, licenses can now be automatically assigned to users when they access a Power App that requires a premium license. Starting in December 2023, an autoclaim license policy will be created in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center for tenants with managed environments. This policy, called Auto-Created Policy for Power Apps, assigns Power Apps per user licenses to users without one when they launch an app in a managed environment.
So that sounds pretty exciting. I mean, it makes it a lot easier. We're not too sure who we should allocate licenses to. We can now set up a policy that will automatically allocate the licenses as is needed. So really exciting thing coming through. You will have the policy applied. Hey, what's the next one? Come on. So thanks, Adriana. The next one, can you talk to us about Copilot now powering all the app descriptions in Power Apps?
AI muscles by generating app descriptions for Power Apps within managed environments. These descriptions give users a quick rundown of how the app can boost their productivity. IT admins can review and tweak these descriptions for accuracy and scalability. Plus, the new grid view in the Power Apps Maker portal showcases these Copilot-generated descriptions, making app discovery a breeze. Currently available in the US, with plans for global expansion and multi-language support. Exciting times ahead.
Oh, you can start to see why we chose the topic of when is AI going to take my job. Not quite here yet. Not there yet. So we're still safe, but you can start to see how this can be used. Because what I thought of doing is getting her to run the news completely. But it took a lot of recording and it was just too much of a pain. So we just left it where we can answer questions. But definitely something that's possible. Yeah. Okay. The other one, modernization. Well, some of the updates for modernization in Power Apps. This is bringing in some additional items in the modern controls to give it more of a modern feel. Now, just for the sake of time, I'm going to jump through the last two. This is also exciting. It's busy rolling out at the moment. The other one is the app creation options. So now we've got multiple options to build the way we want to build them, whatever we're comfortable with. Whether it's using Copilot, whether it's starting from data, whether it's bringing in different items, you can see we can start out and discover all the options available for us. And this is just expanding the flexibilities. You log into the interface now compared to what it was a year ago, things have changed dramatically, but it's definitely adding a lot of functionality. Last one I want to touch on is cards for Power Apps are now solution aware, which is really great to see. Now we can build them as part of a solution, but what this means is they support easier lifecycle management. So you'll see in your solution, you can go now add a new card, create it in there, or you can bring in an existing card into a solution as well. This is going to help the adoption of the adaptive cards, bringing it in, people making use of them. Okay. Anything anyone else has picked up? I don't know if anyone's had a look at the work queues in Power Automate yet. Nice. Okay. Let's maybe have a discussion point on that next time.
I saw that Microsoft has released 3 HR apps. I can't. Your onboarding buddy. So that's to find an onboarding buddy. Another one which is rewards and recognition. So you can nominate people for awards. So you can put out an award. The person that's most customer centric this month, and then people can nominate. So there's that one. It's called awards and recognition. And then the third one is like a kudos app. So they're downloadable from Microsoft Learn. I think actually the link takes you to AppSource, and you get them from AppSource. And then they go alongside. There were a previous bunch that were released a few months ago, which were SAP related ones. The new SAP connectors. So there's the SAP scenario ones, and then these 3 HR ones. So they were literally released this month. Just Google them, and you'll see an article on the Power Apps blog, the Microsoft Power Apps blog. They're linked to from there as well.
Thanks, Michael. Anyone else pick up something they want to share? Anyone online? Okay, perfect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to jump into is integrating Power Apps with Azure OpenAI. Screen. Just change my resolution quickly. It's great having such a high resolution, but it's a pain when you want to try and present to anything. Okay. So this is the solution that I'm going to be taking you through. You can see it's on Azure OpenAI samples repository. Okay, there's some great examples inside there. The one I'm going to be taking you through is the Power App, and this does include a bunch of Power Automate flows that come with it. So there's some detail on the app, the functionality, getting insights, but the details explaining how to implement this could be a little bit better and a little bit more detailed. Like the video recognizer and indexer ones, I wasn't able to get up and running in time. We'll maybe bring those through the next week, but you can see there's a couple of options here on how to configure this. But let's jump in here and I'll show you a couple of examples of what we've done. Okay. So inside Jam, this is the main landing page, and this is really going to take you through what it takes to work with information inside of Power Apps, but speaking to GPT. Let's go into the playground over here. So you'll see this is very similar to the completions playground that you have within the portal. I think this was created back then before the chat interface and that came out. So you can see a lot of the same expressions inside there that we had inside the samples. So we can go summarize. We've got a bunch of text that we want to summarize. And if we go and generate, that's going to call a Power Automate flow that captures all of this information and then sends it through to Azure OpenAI and then comes back with a response inside there based on the prompting and that. And when you play around with this, you'll start to see how to better interact with the models to get the results out that you're looking for. You can see like SQL, so explain the SQL table. Oh no, this is creating a SQL script. Let's just see. Okay, no, there we go. So that it's pulling out the script on how to accomplish this query inside there. Same with translations. So you can see there's a number of different examples that we have in here. And we'll jump into the Power Automate flows that power all this shortly. Okay. The other one inside here, we've also got generate conversation insights. So this is quite an interesting one. Come on, bring in my demo text. There we go. Okay, so it's got a short example of a conversation over here, and we can go in and generate insights. Now, the response is broken up into various areas. You'll see this will take a time. It gives us the summary, gives us the reason, outcome, sentiments, what the agent should be offering, as well as provide next steps to the customer. So you can see it takes a bunch of information and breaks it down to something that's easily legible. You can even see it's posted and created the email for me to send off straight away. So you can start to see how you can utilize this in some of your own apps and interfaces that you're building out to get there. Okay. Now, the other one is with DALL-E. I've actually got 2 pages set up here. This one that you're seeing over here is the new DALL-E v3 model, which is not yet available in my Azure instance. This I'm working directly off of OpenAI. So I can come in here and let's go and type in hug on a laptop writing code. And we can see what the difference is between these two. The setup is also slightly different to how you work with the different APIs. So there's a couple of additional steps you need to consider when you are working with it. You'll see now, this does take a few minutes to come through, but we'll give it, there we go. Now it should start building out that image. And we'll show you how we pull all this together, and then we'll jump into the flow itself that creates this in there. Come on, update. There we go. It actually, the one that I did last night when I was busy testing it, he was actually working on the laptop, but the laptop screen was the wrong way around. So it's a bit of hit and miss sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and then let's jump into the Azure OpenAI one, and then we can explore how this comes together. Oh, come on. So all this is doing is that expression we'll jump into now once this is finished running, is it's using a set command, it's grabbing a variable, and then it's executing a Power Automate flow that's going to come back with a response, which is a URL essentially to that image. This one does take longer because there is a delay specified in the workflow. And I'll show you what that looks like. Actually, we'll wait for this to run. Let's jump into these workflows quickly. I'm going to jump into this. Darling. How many people have started utilizing the new Power Automate interface? Okay. I find it still a bit weird. I'm still not 100% comfortable with it. Oh, you to a clipboard? Okay. Okay. So you can see a simple workflow. I've got Power Automate, or Power Apps is my trigger, and it's grabbing the prompts. Then I've got my HTTP requests. Don't worry, I will change my tokens afterwards. But you can see it's a simple post request to the OpenAI API. I've got my authorization, and then I've got my prompt and the model that I'm using. The N refers to the number of images you want generated. So if you go N2, it will generate 2 images off of that prompt. You've also got the size. 1024 is the highest resolution at this stage. You can do 512 or 256, depending on what you're looking at generating. Maybe if you're looking at generating icons or something, 256 will be fine from there. And then from here, we take the response, we pass that, and we set our URL, the image URL, and we pass that back to Power Apps. You see, pretty straightforward, quick and easy to do. Let's jump into Azure OpenAI. And this was frustrating until I figured it out. Come on. Because inside here, fairly similar process. You're going to do that HTTP request. And the thing you're going to get back from this request is a instance ID and a status. And the status is simply going to say not running. Because what it's doing when you're posting, it's kicking off the job to go and create that image. So you've got to wait. So what I'm doing over there, I'm passing that to get that ID coming through, creating a variable with that job ID on it, creating a delay of 1 minute, and then executing a get command. And then I've got my key, I've got my job ID that I've posted in the URL, so it knows where to get to, along with my API, and then it will come back with a response. 1 minute I found was enough time to give the job. I tried with 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and would work here and there, but it sometimes didn't, so I decided to leave it as a minute, and then it pulled through. Then I just pass that JSON again to get out that URL, and then we send that URL back into Power Apps. Okay. Any questions on this so far? There's our pug. So that was a little bit better inside there. Makes a little bit more sense. But you can definitely see a huge quality difference between the original DALI model and the latest V3 model. And just some of the details and things that you can come up with are incredible. I've been building a lot of custom SharePoint demos with a lot of custom imagery and that, and I've been using DALI to build out all my imagery, where in the past I used to use stock photography. And it's made it definitely a lot quicker and easier to do. Now, let's just have a look at some of those expressions here. You can see straightforward, set my variable, and then I've got my Power Automate flow that I'm running through from there. We go back to the other one. Let's just go here. And then you can see there also fairly similar expression, getting a variable, setting it on there. Let's have a look at that general flow so that you can see how that comes together. Okay, so similar, we get our response from Power Apps, we're creating that variable, we're doing our HTTP request, make sure we've got our URL that we're connecting to for the API, our access key, and then the details on how we want this to come through. And then fairly similar, pass that JSON, initialize a variable. We've got an apply to each here in case we want to set an out summary, and then we respond back to Power Apps with those details. So we saw last time Michael was taking us through using Dataverse with all the config for your prompts and everything for the orchestration. So yeah, everything is configured within the flows themselves. So you've got less customized, while you've got more management, it's not as centralized because you go and do the logic in each individual workflow. Okay, so just something to be aware of. One more. Which one is the other one? Yeah, this one. Isn't this one? There was another one. But I think you can get the idea on how this all comes together. Check out the URL. What I will do is I'll share this onto the Meetup site so you can go and grab it. If you do have any questions or you have anything, please let me know. Okay. Yes.
So thinking about this practically, right? Like where would you actually use this? It'd be really helpful. Like you've got somebody captures a bunch of data, right? They're doing a bunch of data capture, and you've got to do some processing on that, give it a summary, write a document, whatever, right? And you can do it through this. Great. What, you're going to hate this question. What does the cost of that actually look like? Obviously, it's all premium connectors. Sure, yeah. I mean, you could just license that flow and then use that connection, right? So you don't have to license everybody. But then what are the costs? What are the run costs look like when you're yeah, because whenever you're making that call, right, you're also getting billed with Azure OpenAI.
And on your load, we do have calculators that you can work out based on the amount of tokens, based on what it is generating. But it's like my demo instance, I do demos on this almost every day. I don't think it's ever gone over more than a couple of dollars. So it's cheap. Yeah, that's where it starts becoming expensive. And then you've also got to look at throttling that could be happening because of the capacity of those instances. We have just introduced a new model for Azure OpenAI called TPUs, guaranteed throughput, depending on what you expect that to be like. So small scale, it's really cheap. Larger scale, it does start getting expensive. Oh, yes, absolutely, because every model's got its different costs. No, not at all. Mm. Per model. Per model. Well, per environment. Yeah, so you're looking at, you can deploy an Azure OpenAI instance into a resource group that's built for that resource group usage. Yes. Yeah, all in one. And that's one of the things that we offer guidance for. If you want to do like cross billing across the organization, deploy a separate instance for each scenario, because you can't go down to a user level or application level on the usage on it just yet. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, yeah. 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 And for those who are still trying to get up to speed, tokens, one token is about 3 English characters, 3 to 4 English characters. Okay. So that way you can start to understand and see, and we've got some calculators available that can help you understand how this comes together. But where we see a lot of organizations struggle is when they build out the solution internally, they release it out and suddenly it gets hammered and they start getting delays and the response starts taking longer to respond. That's why we've brought in this concept of TPUs, and it is going to be available locally in South Africa if it isn't already. It was supposed to be finished off the end of last month. I haven't checked to see if it's here yet, but we should be having it locally in South Africa as well. Okay. Yes, the more words. And remember, that's going to be your meta prompts, everything that you're sending through to the model, including the scenarios and setting up and everything else. Mm, yeah, because remember, that's processing power it takes to be able to generate that. And that's where, when it gets to a point where you can no longer control the output enough with your pre-prompts, then you start looking at fine tuning. But less than 10% of all use cases out there require fine tuning. Fine tuning is not something that you go into easily. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming to get it right. But there are some use cases here and there for fine tuning. Okay. Yeah. Make sure it narrows it out. Yeah. Hey, perfect. Thanks, everyone. Hope you found that interesting. Yeah.
It's something that I just remembered when you opened up Power Automate, the new designer. In the new designer, in theory, by the end of the month, you'll be able to write or click in the top right-hand corner and choose version history. Really, 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 really. We're getting version history on flows. Yes. It's been documented for a while. It's in the Wave 2 release notes. So, you can go into an app and you can say, show me all previous versions of the app. And then you can revert to one. So you can do the same thing on flows. Yeah. Which is like, duh, why hasn't it been there forever? Yeah. And many people just think it is there, but have never looked for it and realized it's not there. But anyway, if you look at the Wave 2 release notes, it's got that it will be generally available by the end of November. And obviously sometimes things slip, so it might only be December. But anyway, it's coming. Yeah. And so basically it'll be in the new designer in the top right-hand corner, there'll be an option.
Thanks. Yeah. Some reason it's not opening up in the new designer. Okay. Perfect. Thanks, everyone. You're going to take us through the SLA timers. Yeah.
Yes. Cool. This one first. It is on extent. Beautiful. What is a presentation without slides, right? And without a PUC? I need the mic here for the online people. Awesome. So yeah, welcome everyone. Thanks, Jonathan. That was an awesome session. So I just want to take you through a use case that I have for a SLA timer in Power Automate. That was a request that I got from a client. It was fun. I really enjoyed your session, Rod, because I was like, darn it, I need this. So I started playing with stages after your session. So I tried it, might be wrong. After this session, if anyone has a better way of doing this, please let me know, because I'm still looking for better ways to do it. So we'll start a little bit with what was the actual requirement. So as it is with business, it's something simple, right? You just need a flow that needs to notify people if a ticket is logged, send a reminder, and do an escalation. In business's mind, this works seamlessly. They're like, that's all we want. And then you're like, it's simple. And then you go, right. But wait, there's more. So not only do we want that, but we also want these people, the VIP individuals, to be able to change the priority mid-flow. And I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. And also, that should only be applied to certain tickets. Not any ticket that's being logged can have the priority raised, only certain. Disclaimer that this part is not done. Okay. Then they also wanted the service level, so sending people reminders, notifications, but it has to happen within business hours, as we know. It's a simple task, but building that into a flow, a Power Automate flow, it's like, oh, delay until. And then obviously for a P1, which is critical, there's fortunately none of that. So I'm so grateful for the Power Platform community, because Bing helps us. And this is the solution that I got. So I just want to stand on this side. So I'm so grateful to this person who posted this, because not only did they give the formula that I could use for business hours, they explained what it does. So it helped me a lot, especially with trying to figure out the UTC and getting it into our time. Yeah, the zone, our time zone. So what it does, it says, if the current time is earlier than 4 o'clock UTC time, so you kind of have to work out what that time looks like for us, it will be delayed till 4 o'clock UTC time of the day. So what that means is, for us, in our example, we needed it to be 8 o'clock. So if this ticket is logged earlier than 8 o'clock. So you've got those overachievers that get into the office at 6 and then they just figure out something's wrong. So they log a ticket. If it's done before 8 o'clock, this flow is supposed to wait till 8 o'clock and then notify or send out that reminder. Then we got, if the current time is later than 3 o'clock. So fortunately, this actually fell into the same data or time as ours. Oddly enough, it stayed 15. But what I struggled with is the requirement from business is 8 to 4:30. And I was like, that's going to be a lot of programming to still get that half hour. So I kind of made a deal with business. I was like, I can make it 8 to 5. Does that work for you? So I made it 8 to 5. So I haven't figured out the half an hour. I changed business process. So what the rest of this thing does is, if the current time is later than what for our requirement would be 5, it'll actually wait until the next day, 8 o'clock, before it sends that reminder. So at least for the SLA, someone wouldn't be waiting or get like a bunch of emails and saying like your task has been escalated because you didn't attend to it. And then lastly, if the time is between 8 and 5, just pause it for about 15 seconds. I think I've made mine 10, and then send out the reminder. So I found this formula very, very useful. So let me quickly show you what my flow looks like. This is going to be fun. There's a lot of steps. So just on top of that, what they also came with is the reminders, right? So how do they want to do the reminders? It must just be whatever the SLA time is per priority. Half of that time should be the reminder. The reminder should happen at half of that time. So it's been an exciting, what can I say, requirement. So let's share this one that way. I wonder, I think this is going to be easier if I just go duplicate this quickly, because then I can run you through what needs to be done. So obviously when you click on edit, it should by default just go to the new designer. I did read some limitations as to when it will not go to the new designer. Yeah. Yeah, and API, when you do API calls, it doesn't by default open the new designer. Yeah. So that was interesting. And I can't remember where I read it, but I do know of it. Okay, so now it opened my old one as well. I wonder if it keeps like, if you switch to classic, if it keeps that preference, because I switched to classic. But if you wanted to switch to the new designer, you could easily just go to the right hand. Well, I would have thought that it would be there, but no. AI-powered editing can't be used. That's fine. I didn't want. So what I did is I built a flow for when an item is created in the SharePoint list, because they've got a SharePoint. They use SharePoint for their ticket logging. So I just use the out-of-the-box ticket logging example that you get with Microsoft Lists. And then you just update. I had to update the item because for some reason, when I say the default date should be today, it doesn't populate in SharePoint. SharePoint always being funny, but that's the joy, right? So what I have here is, first of all, when someone logs a ticket, I had to actually determine that they've got a priority, because everything is working around the priority, right? Based on the priority that I have, I'm going to have to then do the SLA. So first I needed to run this flow up until the point we have a priority. Another requirement that we had is this ticket need to be assigned to someone. So once again, I do a loop to check whether we actually have an assigned to. So with this one, the do until, to get the priority, because what the requirement for business was as well is that the person logging the ticket, they don't get. Hello. There we go. I just obviously didn't have to say that now. It was like, no, don't say that. So what business wanted is when someone logs a new ticket, they can't decide the priority. It's the people who receives the ticket, like firstly, they decide on the priority, and then they assign it to whoever's taking up that ticket. So that's why it's also built this way. And from their side, on their list, they've got like the form hiding the priority field. So obviously we do this. I've put this in here and I've explained this to business as well, is I've made this do until run for 6 iterations. That's why the delayed 5 minutes to every time check if the priority has been filled out or not. So that gives it like half an hour off the time already since the ticket has been logged. And that's just something that I wanted business to be aware of, because that's 30 minutes in, and the people that needs to pick up these tickets needs to work on it quickly, else it's just going to loop for half an hour. And what it does is once it's got where it posts the notification is to teams. So there should be a team that's like responsible for picking up the tickets, and it gets posted to that team to say, listen, a new ticket has been logged. Can you please action it? It needs a priority. It needs a person that it's assigned to. So once that loop is done, just want to close that one quickly. What I found with, this is always interesting for me with Power Automate, is it doesn't pick up what the value is if you don't refresh the step. So I have to get the item first again to get what the latest fields are, which is something I learned a hard lesson. I learned it the hard way, where I was like, yo, flow is ready, you can use it. And then it doesn't pick up that a priority has been set. It's like, darn it. Cool. So I get the latest item, then I got the switch. Thanks, Rod, for teaching me about the switch. What was interesting about switch as well, I'll share on that just now. So it's very much like your condition, but I like how it just says it like this, where I've got, if the case is critical, high, moderate, or normal, it'll pick up what the priority was that was chosen. For critical, obviously the requirement was that we just need to delay it. So first of all, I need to check if it's assigned. If it's not assigned, then obviously the SLA can't tick off because this ticket has a priority now, but it's not assigned to anyone. Then once we have the assigned person, we can actually let them know, first of all, that, listen, this ticket has been assigned to you. And then in the email, we tell them that, listen, you've got this amount of time to resolve this ticket, or at least acknowledge. That was another part of the process that business gave me, is in their process, the person needs to acknowledge the ticket first and then actually action it. So they've got a certain amount of time to acknowledge the ticket and a certain amount of time to resolve it, depending on the priority. So what I did was I called the delay 15 minutes because for a P1, I think they had like an hour or something to resolve it, or to acknowledge. And this one, it was 30 minutes to acknowledge, and I think it's 30 minutes to resolve. So the delay of 15 minutes is to get that reminder piece out. So I will delay the flow with 15 minutes. In this example, I just made it 5 because who's got time to, like, every time you test, wait for 15 minutes? I wasn't one of them. Then what I needed to check was the tick box that says acknowledge ticked? And then if yes, then it doesn't have to do anything further. If it wasn't acknowledged, then instead of sending that person an email, because this was also a requirement from business, we don't want to bombard our people with emails. So I suggested, like, okay, initially let's notify them by email, but after that, let's post to Teams. So then we post a message to Teams. Then it gets delayed by another 15 minutes. And what would happen after that is an escalation. This one was the demo that I showed them. It's not the fully built thing. But what would happen after that is the escalation would actually happen where it goes to their manager. So where I built that formula, or where I used that formula, because obviously I didn't need it for a P1, which is critical, because that one has a 24-hour turnaround. So they can, like, there's no time constraint there. When the issue comes in, you need to work on it. So for the high, moderate, and normal, this is where we would have needed the core business hours. So something that I also realized when using that formula is it doesn't cater for weekends. Yeah. So I haven't found a solution to that yet. I'm sure there is, but I just haven't had the time to work through it. So what I did was, it's very similar. The process is very similar to critical. The only additional step is the delay until. So I still delay it for a certain amount of time, but I then have the delay until to check, is this still within the business hours? And if it's not, then it will wait till either 8, or if it's after 5, it once again will wait till 8 to send the person the notification to say, like, hey, you need to action this. It hasn't been actioned yet. So that's pretty much the process that I went through for this SLA. It was tedious, and eventually it becomes so integrated, because this one also, only caters for whether it's acknowledged or not. But then I had to build it also for checking, like, if it's acknowledged, now I need to do the whole same process again for when it's resolved, to check whether it's resolved. So it became a very, like, a loop inside of a loop, and eventually I've hit like the ultimate, you can't loop this anymore, you can't have any conditions in this step anymore. So it's become a very tedious process. Then something that I learned with using Switch is certain things, when you copy it to your clipboard, you can't paste it into the next case. I was like, oh, darn it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's pretty much the way I solved this so far. Like I said, it's not the best, but that's what I've done so far. Yes.
One thing that you may consider is all your cases are pretty much the same. It's just the time that's different. And so you're repeating your Outlook sending email text is basically the same across all of them, and you're duplicating it. So what you could consider doing is, rather in the cases, each of them just set a variable. So if you go case moderate, then you set a variable called time equal to 15. But if it's going through case high, the time variable is 30, or whatever it is. So all it does is set variables. And then you have one action after all of those. So after all of those, you have one action that sends the email. But then in the email, you have like little if statements so that the body of the email is different based on the time. Does that kind of make sense? So you only have one send email statement. You have one XXX. Then you don't have to repeat that. Like if you had to change your email now, you have to go and change it across 6 scenarios. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's one. And the other thing is, as far as I remember, but I could be wrong, on the add hours function, you said you wanted to do half an hour. I think you can do 4.5. I think so. As far as I remember, you can. If you can't, just try it. But if you can't, do add minutes. And then you just take 4 times it by 60, which is 240, I think. And then just add 30. So make it add minutes 270. And then that'll work, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. So this one runs when it's created and then waits and waits and waits. The other way you can do it is have it run on a schedule, right? So, hmm? It's not, then it's you're gonna have to run through the whole list and pull out what am I doing and what am I not, and then you get like, depending on how often you're recurring it, you're getting like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of runs of the same workflow. Either way, this is like weird, right? Running 100 loops or running 100 flows or whatever. I wish there was a cleaner answer.
Anyone else got any questions? Comments? Well done. This is really awesome, though. Great.
Changing the priority I haven't done. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Something that I've considered is having an extra column and build the string, and then on item change, check whether that string is still like, if the priority and a piece of that string is still like in sync with one another. And if it's not, then something happened. Yeah. Correct. Yes. It's still, yeah, it's still going to run. It's not going to stop the SLA. Yeah. So no, it's an interesting one. Yeah. But then I still need to stop that other SLA so that that person doesn't get stop the, okay. That sounds interesting. Thank you so much. I'm going to play because obviously this one can be built a lot easier. Yeah, it's crazy. And that's why I said, like, when they go like, it's simple, you just build an SLA, you're like, right. Yes, exactly. Just two more announcements that I would just like to quickly put in here while I've got the time. Yes. Yeah, this one, yeah, I only want this one to just look at weekdays and not weekends. Oh, awesome. Yes. Oh, no. Yes, public holidays needs to be catered for as well. And then the president announces an additional one for the year. So yeah, whenever someone mentions SLA with the Power Platform, I would like to see a real proper thought out solution on this. This would be interesting to see how that caters for that. Yes. That is such a good question. Check that table. Yo. Fortunately, it's locally for now. Yeah. So there's talk that there might be a solution library coming where you can just have functions in there, just for the people on the call. Yeah, we're hoping that they announce it at Ignite. Oh. Oh, that's nice with Power BI. Yeah, with Power Apps, I don't know. Yeah, you can create a SharePoint list. Yeah, yeah. You could. That is so awesome. So there's a lot of cool tools. Suggestions, please, people. Anyone keen on trying to build like a SLA solution? Sell it. We'll buy it. Yes. So just two things coming up is the .NET conference for South Africa. It's the community event. For those who can join in Joburg or Cape Town, please join us. Roma and I will be doing .NET with Power Platform. So please join us. It's completely free. You can get your tickets on Quicket, and you can visit the cptmsdag.dev to just get the agenda and see what the event is all about. And then, obviously, it won't be Power Platform if I don't advertise this. Whoop, whoop. Our Global Power Platform Bootcamp happening next year, the 2nd of March. Please join us. The call for speakers is still open, so please submit your sessions. We are keen to hear what you want to share as well. I think it's December, yeah. Yeah. I was just confirm the exact date, but I know it's somewhere in December where call for speakers is closing. And then you can also register for the event using a Meetup and finding Jozipug. You'll find it under our events. With that, I conclude. Thank you, everybody.
Was great. Any final questions for Carike? Comments? Yeah. No. I mean, there's tools that cost millions of dollars. And now you start to understand why they cost that much. When you start looking at building out, I mean, it sounds like a simple solution. Oh yeah, let's just notify every hour or every 6 hours. You put it that way, it's fine. When you start coding it, it's another story completely. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So many things you need to take into consideration. And you're going to see, yeah, reassignments, scope creep is endless in a project like that. Yeah, delegation. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. So enjoy that. I'm sure you're going to have fun. But I suppose that's why we have jobs, to do these sort of things until until AI takes over. But yeah, on that topic of when AI will take our jobs, because I mean, it's inevitable. Some roles are going to disappear. I mean, I'm busy reading a book called The Employee Experience Advantage by Jacob Morgan. And it talks about how organizations have evolved over the years. And the one interesting thing he pointed out is most businesses have been designed for robots. Think about the way most businesses run. It's repetitive processes, people are processing information. But the problem is when those businesses came out, robots did not exist. Think about the manufacturing line. That's something perfect for a robot. What's happened to those manufacturing lines? They've been replaced by robots. So it's not that robots are taking our jobs. We took the robots' jobs. They're now coming and taking them back because they're at a point now where they can take over. I mean, we've seen this over the years. This is not the first time technology is replacing humans in jobs. We've just got to figure out how we adjust and how we adapt and change to make sure that we stay relevant. So we've got to leverage AI as much as possible. Do you have a comment?
South Africa, the whole job replacement thing is going to be a lot slower due to maintenance, because we don't seem to keep up to doing maintenance. Example, ESCOM.
We've also got a big challenge with labor unions, where they would resist technology changes because they're worried about the impact that it has on workers. Now, I mean, I've worked with retailers where they want to enable things like smart checkout and a bunch of things, but the labor unions push back. So we in South Africa might be a bit delayed in some industries, but I don't think it's going to stop everything at the end of the day. Anyone else got some thoughts? Yeah.
So there's an old joke about if AI is going to take our jobs, specifically our jobs, right? Like configurers, developers, admins. In order for an AI to take that job, business users have to be able to clearly articulate what it is they want. And that is impossible. So we're safe, right? But that's not really the whole thing, right? Like you see coming into Power Apps, like start with Copilot, right? And you can tell it what you want and it builds a thing, and it kind of, it works as much as the start from data does, right? So for power users, that is a definite thing. But we might not be actually throwing controls onto a screen anymore, but there's still going to be a space for the work that we do in everything else rather than moving things around on a screen. So you still have to talk to people to find out what it is they were actually trying to do. And then somebody has to translate that into something that an AI can effectively understand and look at the output and keep tweaking that prompt until it actually does what it is. At some point in the future, theoretically, it can do the whole end-to-end, but it probably takes over the world or we nuke ourselves before that happens.
So citizens should be developing those things. But Yeah. But I mean, it's like I've engaged with a couple of customers and they see that interface to create an app and it just takes a couple of words and it creates something that's functional. They're like, oh, well, we don't need to go on training. We don't need to do all this. I'm like, no, you still need to know what you're doing. You still need to know what to ask for. It's like I was dealing with someone, I was showing them the Power BI Copilot. Now, I do a lot of dashboard in a day sessions where we teach people to build out dashboard. It takes a day, and most people don't finish it. Now they see, okay, within a couple of minutes, they can build a report. I'm like, yeah, but that person knew what to ask for. They knew how to ask it to get it to that point. And all the data was back. Yes, please.
As you see, I'm not so young. Okay, and I'm in computer since 78. And I heard that terminology, that computer going to take job. It's only shifting the job. Okay, certain job will be taken, however, creating a lot of different other, and maybe more challenging, more knowledge needed, but it's only the shifting in job. So if somebody looking for a job for the future, look ahead, don't look what's been done yesterday.
Absolutely. I mean, I can remember my parents when I was going through school and that, my parents were trying to figure out what we should study, what we should do, because I mean, the jobs that we got now today didn't exist back then. You didn't have Power Apps developers back then. You didn't have architects, engineers, not to the scale that we do now. So things changed drastically. A really interesting book to read is something called Scary Smart. It's by Mo Goddard. He used to be the business leader for Google X, so the AI research team, and he talks about how AI has transformed over the years and where he sees it going in the future. He says by 2050, we're going to be sitting around a campfire in the middle of nowhere, but we don't know why we're going to be there. Either the AI is taken over and we're all hiding from the AI, or the better option to think of is that AI has taken over all the hard work that we need to do. And we can chill, relax, and enjoy being human. Exactly. Yeah. No.
This is the same thing as when we went to cloud. We all used to work on-prem and we'd have to go sit in a really cold server room and do all our work. And then like, oh, but what happens when the cloud comes and none of us are going to have jobs because then it'll just all be in the cloud and we don't have to support this tin anymore. And like those jobs didn't disappear, right? Yes, you're no longer a server admin, now you're an Azure admin. It's the same thing. There's no more, thank God there's no more SharePoint installations. Oh God. Oh, we're still doing those in migrations. uh, but yeah, so like we work in IT, right? When your product goes from the product that you use in your work goes from version 2 to version 3, you don't lose your job, right? You don't know how to use version 3, so you're in IT and you learn how to use version 3, and this is the same thing. I wish I could still use InfoPath, but Power Apps is cool too.
I wonder what's the AI unemployment rate in South Africa at the moment.
Good one, David. I'm not sure though. But just on that point, on the prompt engineering that we're talking about, there are multiple courses that are available free on LinkedIn. So I think I'm also skilling up, and you all also welcome to skill up and see what are for example, the courses are like generative AI, what is prompt engineering, and they're all free. So please, yeah, I'm happy to share the link then, and then use it to upskill yourself and leave the taboo that AI will take our job. No, it won't.
There is some basic prompt engineering available on Microsoft Learn. So to get started, if you feel like it's something that you can get into, check that out. It will take you through some of the basics around how you should formulate your responses, how you should break it down, and all of that. I'll grab it out just now and I'll share it with you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Just on that, do you think with that basic training, is that something that for us as developers, recently at our company, we've started an AI lab, but we also want to upskill our business unit users. So from an AI perspective, from as a developer perspective, obviously it's more technical, but from a business user, do you think that Microsoft Learn on generative AI would be something that we can take to business and teach them? Or are there other resources?
I think you would need to break it down a bit more simplified, because a lot of the stuff on Microsoft Learn focuses on how to engage and interact with the model and get the results out that you're looking for based on what comes in. So not as much for the end users, though there might be something out there. I'll have a look and see if there's something for end users. I've got a little workshop that I do on prompt engineering when you're looking at building out your own co-pilots, but that's probably all going to change with the announcements that come out soon. So we've got some other things coming out. David, I see you've joined us. Welcome. Anything you want to add on the topic? You are on mute still there, David, if you're still there. No. Is there anyone online that would like to add anything besides David?
Sorry, I was on mute and I'm driving, so it's a bit of a
Okay. Putting you on the spot.
weird scenario. But I think the thing with AI, it's very similar to cloud, where I remember when at TechEd they announced Office 365, and everybody looked at each other and they said, okay, so we're not going to be installing Exchange and SharePoint servers anymore. So what are we going to do now? But then we said, well, we have to embrace this. We're not sure exactly how yet. We're not exactly sure what it's going to mean for our futures. But it's something we need to embrace. And the truth is that we're busier than we ever were, even though we're not installing Exchange servers anymore. So, and I think it's a similar thing with AI. We just need to understand, we need to embrace it. I don't think we're going to stop it. So we need to, like you say, Jonathan, we need to keep up to speed and stay relevant, and then make sure that we continue to add value, and then look forward to that campfire.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like the big thing that has changed, some of our tasks have become a lot easier. I remember when I was still a server engineer, there used to be a ratio that Microsoft put out that you would have one engineer per, I think it was 50 servers. Then it went to 100 servers. Now one engineer can effectively manage potentially thousands of servers with all the automation and that has been brought in. Yeah, but still there. Things might get easier. There just becomes more things we need to do. And one of the best things I heard, I mean, when I was still, this must have been about 12, 13 years ago, if not more. But when cloud really started to become a thing, it was all about clouds. It's just someone else's computer. Something still needs to run on there. You're still going to need to be able to work on it and update it and change it and configure it. Someone needs to help users, help them understand what they want. Because I mean, they've got an idea, but they don't know how to articulate that. They don't know how to put it, and that's what we're there for.
I also think the jobs that are going to disappear first are not the technical jobs, right? Us who are implementing this sort of thing. It's the workloads that take a bunch of meeting notes and summarize it for the execs. It's the capture this information and then write me the TPS reports, right? Those are the ones that are the low-hanging fruit for AI, and those workloads will get automated long before the development cycle will.
Then you go and have a look at things like the Hong Kong Robotics Expo that just happened, and you see some of those robots coming out there. That is unreal. They've got robotic baristas, they've got presenters, and they look real. It is scary where it's coming to at the moment. I mean, yeah, there is a bunch of stuff on YouTube. I'll show some videos on there that we saw. But you look at like the baristas and that. I mean, it was last year that they started replacing McDonald's workers with robots, and now we're getting to a point where it's getting even further and extended. So, yeah, I mean, we want to replace the jobs that no one wants to do. But the thing is, we've got to try and figure out how do we help those people that have been displaced? And how do we make sure that they've got jobs at the end of the day? Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Anyone want to add anything else?
So now McDonald's has fake food and fake employees.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, perfect. So with that, everyone, hope you enjoy the rest of November. Definitely check out Ignite happening tomorrow. Like I said, some big announcements coming out. Oh, it was there. I was so confused there for a second. Just a reminder, we do upload all of our videos to YouTube. So if you have missed out on one, go check on there. You'll be able to see the history of everything that's gone on. Once again, reminder, call for speakers for the Power Platform Global Conference coming up in March. Please, if you've got anything you want to talk about, submit the idea through, and then we'll get in touch after that. Okay, everyone, thanks. Have a great evening further. Enjoy the rest of the event. Yeah. So there's 2 keynotes. There's tomorrow night and then again on Thursday night. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Thanks, everyone.